All right. Good afternoon, YWCA viewers. This is Series 1, Episode 3 of The Butterfly Effect, sponsored by Club 1888, a YWCA volunteer program. This is an empowerment series where volunteer hosts interview inspiring women in our community. My name is Kayla Molinaro, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing Cheryl Hage-Perez. Cheryl is a lifelong resident of Amsterdam, New York, who has devoted her career to providing service and assistance to the most vulnerable members of our community. Having 40 years of service to the homeless population, she is currently the executive director of Veterans and Community Housing Coalition, which provides housing and support services to the homeless veterans. She has been successful in developing programs, housing opportunities, support services, and also focuses on creating public awareness of the plight that many men and women who served our country and now find themselves in need of services. In 2018, she was awarded the New York State Women of Distinction Award, and she is also one of the 2021 Women of Achievement awardees. Cheryl does not see her work as a job, but rather as a passion. Cheryl is the proud mother of 2, grandmother of 5, and great-grandmother of 1. She enjoys spending time with her family, traveling, cooking, and crocheting, and maybe at the end, she'll show us this beautiful tablecloth that she just created. So welcome, Cheryl. Is there anything else that you want to tell us about yourself, or do you want to dive right into the questions?
No, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for including me in this series, and I'm ready to answer your questions.
All right. So Cheryl, can you tell us who inspired you when you were a young girl?
Well, that would definitely be my dad, who taught me at a very early age, coming from a family of 2 brothers and all uncles and my grandparents, that I could be, now this is going back in the 50s, I could do anything I put my. And growing up, the message wasn't the same from other sources, but I always listened to my dad and followed his strong advice.
That's so great. And as you were growing up and kind of deciding what it is that you wanted to do, did you have any mentor that pops out to you?
Well, I'll tell you the story of why I decided to work and help other people. I myself, very young age, 19, well then 20, found myself a single mom and a victim of domestic violence. So I found the need. I had no college education, no career experience. Of course, I thought and so went and applied to social services, food stamps, Medicaid, Section 8 housing. And this was in the late 70s. And I saw how people were treated. I had the luxury that my uncle was commissioner of social services. So when I went in, I was treated very nicely. But other people were treated so rudely. And you would see these little kids with this blank look on their face with no hope. And at that point, I wanted to be a role model for people who found themselves in a poor situation, in a homeless situation, in a financially unstable environment. So that's when I decided that this was going to be my career path.
Okay. And how did you become involved with the Veterans and Community Housing Coalition? How'd you get there?
Well, I had been working with the homeless population for many years. And as I was going through application, I kept noticing that many were veterans. And I couldn't wrap my head around how men and women who served our country, who provided selfless acts so you and I could even meet today, found themselves homeless. Plus, my dad, of course, served in World War II, and I have a son-in-law, 2 grandsons, and a nephew who are United States Marines. So that passion brought me to working with homeless veterans and trying to at least address the issue for many in our community that find themselves in need.
That's so wonderful. And I like that it's very close to home for you too. How long have you been with the Veterans and Community Housing Coalition?
I have been there for a little over.
Very nice. All right. So I kind of want to go back to, you talking about being a single mom, being young. Looking back on that, what sort of advice would you give yourself, your 21-year-old self? What advice would you give yourself?
I would say that the steps I took towards independence, financial stability, and an education were the right steps to take. When you're that young, and I will say that my parents were instrumental in watching my kids, supporting us with food and the car. But you have two choices when you find yourself alone. You can either buckle and just go to social services, go to Section 8, and stay home and do nothing. Or you can use those as a tool to get to a better place. So the advice that I would give myself was, I'm glad I listened to myself back then and chose. I was working time, going to school part-time, and raising two children. It's all blocked out of my head right now, but it's true, was the right path.
That's so great. And I think that kind of goes to show that you really took what your dad had told you about you can do and be anything you want to be. And I think that came out during, your younger years when you're 21 and a single mom and trying to navigate all of that. So that's so wonderful.
Of course, he's still preaching it in my ear.
Yeah, I think you're going to constantly hear that, right?
I hope so.
Yeah. So what do you want other women to know, whether they're young women trying to find their way or they're older established women? What do you want them to know?
I want them to know that they can achieve any level of success. The first thing you do is find your path. You don't go into a lifelong career for the money or for the social status. You have to truly, truly believe in what you do and have a passion for what you do. And then everything else comes natural. Work your hardest, be confident in yourself. Praise yourself for the steps you take and the accomplishments you make, because nobody deserves it more than you.
That's so great. And this is kind of a thinking question, I think. So what interview question? So what is the interview question you have never been asked before? And what would your response be?
Wow. I don't think I've been asked how long I plan on working. I've been eligible for retirement for a couple of years now, full retirement. And I can't seem to let the strings go because there's still so much to do. Our veterans, to me, are going back to the Revolutionary War, the very first American veteran. If it were not for them, who knows where we would be? If we would be speaking English, if we would be able to speak freely on television or in the media. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to retire next January. But I have 7 grant applications out. And if they get funded, I know I'm not going anyplace.
You have a lot more to do, it sounds like, or a lot more you want to do, I should say.
A lot more goals to benefit our veteran population.
That's so great. So if you do get the opportunity to retire, what do you do?
I'm going to go visit family. I'm going to go on more cruises. Well, depending on if we're safe. I think I'm just going to spend more time with my family, visit them. They don't all live near me, and relax. I will say I will volunteer with an animal rescue or shelter.
Oh, that's so nice. Do you do that now? Do you have any connections with animal rescue shelters now?
No, I don't. I have, well, I had grand dogs. One passed away recently, and two grand kittens. And I had cats in the currently don't have it. But my second passion is animals. I'm just, I love animals, and they give me such and peace. And so that's what I.
That's so great. That's awesome. So, besides your wonderful ability to crochet, what other types of like special talents do you have?
Not many. I'm a very person, basic. I can cook. I'm an
Okay.
excellent. My heritage, my maternal from Italy, my paternal grandparents from Lebanon, and taught all of the basic family traditions and recipes, which I continue today and teach my kids. And the old fashioned style of cooking them, I still pick my own grape leaves and to stuff them, and I grind my own chickpeas to make hummus. And so I think I love to cook. I hate to clean up after, but when you cook for other people, here's a tip. If you cook for other people, the cook doesn't clean.
Exactly.
Never see a master chef washing dishes.
Nope.
So
And it sounds like you have a lot of young kids to really kind of pick up that, do that work and clean up all of your dishes.
I do. Trying to get them to do it is another thing. But yes, they wind up doing it because one thing I've learned is patience. And I can let it sit there now for a couple hours. Where in the past I would just say, forget it, I'll do it myself. I don't do
Right.
that anymore.
What's your favorite dish to cook?
I would say it's when we have Lebanese night, because that's probably only twice a year because it's so much work. So we have stuffed, it's called wara harish, it's stuffed grape. We have lahameshli, which is a lamb shish kebab. We have hummus, which white people call hummus.
Okay.
We have tabbouleh, which is a Lebanese salad. And we have what's called fataya, and it's a Lebanese meat pie. So that's 2 days of prep cooking. But it is my favorite meal because my whole family enjoys it. And when I cook it, there's about 20 of us here. And they just enjoy it so much that it makes me enjoy it, cooking it even more.
That's so great. All right. So, is there anything that you would want our local community to know about your work or the upcoming projects or anything with respect to the Veterans and Community Housing Coalition?
I would like everyone to know that there are currently about 5,000 veterans who are homeless in our region, just in the Capital District. And Veterans and Community Housing is determined that they will receive the services they need. They come to us with just the clothes on their back, no family or friend support, dealing with addiction, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, and no place else to turn. We rely heavily on donations from the community of clothing, which we aren't taking right now due to COVID, furniture, so we can help them with their home. Right now, we have meal and supply pantry where we're delivering food to 120 families a week, complete meals. And most of it is received through donations. We live in a wonderful community, And I'm very grateful for that.
That's so great. All right. What is, other than what your father had kind of ingrained in you from a young age, what is the best advice that you have ever received?
Don't accept no. That was from a psychiatrist that when I was working in the mental health unit, told me when I had applied for a promotion and I received it. And the psychiatrist came up to me and he said, don't ever accept no. And I didn't stay there for the promotion, but started and did get promoted in another agency. And that's always stayed with me, especially with systems that are not as effective as they should be. And when they say, no, we can't do that, you have to be able to fight back and say, yes, you can, and this is how.
Mm-hmm. That's so great.
Thanks.
That's great. And I just want to say, as you're talking about your, growing up and kind of how you've gotten to where you are, like your passion really does come through, because you just light up when you talk about it, even when you were talking about the Veteran and Community Housing Coalition. You really can just see your passion come out. And I think that what you said earlier about you have to find your passion.
Yeah.
Really did, and that is why you are, where you are today. So that's just amazing. Is there anything else you want to tell our listeners and viewers?
I'm cold right now, and I will show my crocheted tablecloth.
Oh yes, you have to.
I will. Hang on.
That is just so beautiful.
And I truly enjoy doing it. And that's something else that people, crocheting is almost a lost art. My grandmother taught me when I was about 9, 10, 11. And then I didn't do it for years. And then all of a sudden, when my son was a boy and it was Christmas, I started crocheting again. And I haven't stopped since. And I love working the thread crochet. Very relaxing, and it's something you do mindlessly. You have to think maybe the first few rounds, and then it flows, and you don't have to make a decision, or it's a great relaxing thing to do.
Yeah, and that tablecloth just looks like it has such little detail into it, so it really shows the amount of time and effort you took to create that.
Getting like 10 rows up and saying, oh no, I forgot something, and ripping it out and doing it
again. Starting over.
You gotta achieve it to the highest. You can't have a flawed, not work.
Right.
So no, I appreciate this opportunity, and women need to know that they can. I mean, we have for women NFL coaches today. Come on, women couldn't even go to their games.
Yep.
So there is a much better time for women, and women need to find their passion, don't accept no, and just keep moving forward until you're perfectly satisfied with where you're in your career.
That's so great. Well, I want to end on that positive note, and that was just so wonderful. So thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today, Cheryl. It was a pleasure of mine to be able to talk to you. So for our YWCA viewers, make sure that you tune in every Tuesday and Thursday at noon to hear from other inspiring women just like Cheryl, who are right here in our local community. So thank you so much, Cheryl.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.